It's midnight and you're watching Nightline with me, Sabrina Zainal. The top stories. Prime Minister threatened by European MPs for rallying behind Palestine. And former Bersatu information chief slapped with 18 new money laundering charges involving nearly 6 million ringgit. Good morning. We begin with this story. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the threats he received over his criticism of the Israeli government following the war in Gaza came from European MPs, including a proposal for action against Malaysia. The Prime Minister also said he will explain further in a media statement soon on the matter, stressing that Malaysia remains firm in championing the fate of the Palestinians.
Ada ahli Parlimen Eropah yang bagikan, nanti kita beri keterangan yang jelas dan kenyataan-kenyataan mereka, dan juga ada yang usul langsung dari salah seorang ahli Parlimen Eropah dah mula. Tapi tak jadi masalah, jadi kita jangan hiraukan soal itu. Kita ada urusan kerja dan kita teruskan.
Anwar added he was not worried for his own safety and was leaving it to Inspector General of Police, Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussein, to handle the matter. He said this to reporters when asked to elaborate on his revelation at the Malaysia Stands with Palestine rally at Axiata Arena in Bukit Jalil on Tuesday night that he had received threats from Western countries due to Malaysia's unwavering support for the Palestinian cause. He had also said, despite receiving criticism from pro-Israel countries, especially the United States, Malaysia will not retract its support for Gaza and the Palestinians. Now, the country's top cop has given assurance that the security for Anwar will be increased following his disclosure on the threats that he had received due to his outspoken advocacy for Palestine. Razaruddin said the police will not compromise on this matter and that security of the Prime Minister is their top priority. However, he added that most of the threats may be related to economic measures that may involve certain sectors, such as the country's exports. In the meantime, the Palestinian Health Ministry has warned that the electric generators in hospitals will cease functioning within the next 48 hours due to fuel shortages amid intensified air raids on the besieged strip, which has killed more than 700 people in 24 hours. Its spokesperson, Ashraf Al-Qudra, said the healthcare system has reached its worst stage in its history, with 32 health centers out of service after the Zionist regime cut off access to essential supplies. According to the main UN agency working in Gaza, hospital operations will be forced to halt by Wednesday evening due to the lack of fuel as Israeli airstrikes continue. The Zionist regime, meanwhile, has ruled out any fuel being allowed to enter Gaza, saying Hamas would allegedly co-opt fuel for its operational infrastructure and to continue its rocket attacks. According to UNRWA, just 8 out of 28 trucks scheduled to cross into Gaza on Tuesday made the journey, with no specific reason provided as to why the other 12 trucks did not make it through the Rafah crossing. More than 700 people were killed in Gaza in the previous 24-hour period, the highest daily number, bringing the total casualties to more than 6,600. Earlier, the United Nations Security Council held its first open debate on the Israel-Gaza war on Tuesday, with most members calling for an immediate ceasefire to allow humanitarian aid to reach Palestinians under relentless Israeli bombardment in Gaza. Nearly 90 countries were on the speakers' list for the debate, including around 30 foreign ministers and deputy ministers, with many echoing calls for a ceasefire and a halt to attacks on Palestinian civilians amid widespread destruction in Gaza and the mounting death toll. Jordan's foreign minister, Ayman Safadi, speaking on behalf of the 22-member Arab group, accused the Zionist regime of razing Gaza to the ground and lamented the Security Council's failure to call an immediate ceasefire. Washington, however, has said it favors a humanitarian pause, which is considered less formal and shorter than a ceasefire. Jordan and Russia are among nations that have requested a meeting on Thursday of the UN General Assembly. In another development, Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said he will answer on the mechanism that will be used for targeted subsidies in Parliament. The Prime Minister said this in response to his predecessor, who was also Bira MP, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob's statement in the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday, expressing concern over the lack of transparency and information on the push towards a targeted subsidy system.
Itu dah nanti saya ingat lebih baik saya guna ruang parlimen untuk beri penjelasan. Okey?
Anwar gave the brief answer to reporters after launching the National Language Decade and National Reading Decade Carnival in Cyberjaya on Wednesday. He, however, did not mention when he would explain the matter in Parliament. Previously, during the tabling of the 2024 budget, Anwar, who is also Finance Minister, said that targeted subsidies will be introduced in phases from next year onwards. These include subsidies for electricity and diesel. Former Bersatu Information Chief Datuk Wan Saiful Wan Jan has claimed trial to 18 new charges of money laundering, totaling close to 6 million ringgit. The Tasik Gelugur MP pleaded not guilty after the charges were read out to him before Sessions Court Judge Suzana Hussein on Wednesday. The charges were framed under Section 4, Subsection 1B of the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001, which provides for up to 15 years jail and a minimum fine of 5 million ringgit upon conviction. The charge sheet read that Wan Saiful, as a director of WSA Advisory Group Sendirian Berhad, had committed the offence between August 12th and November 13th, 2022. The charges were in connection with the purchase of a four-wheel drive vehicle worth 78,800 ringgit, the transfers of 3.169 million ringgit into his personal bank account, 180,000 ringgit to the National Sports Council, 38,160 ringgit to Sinar Karangkraf Sendirian Berhad, as well as numerous other transfers to third-party accounts belonging to individuals and companies. Wan Saiful was accused of transferring the money gained from illicit activities from the bank account of WSA Advisory Group Sendirian Berhad to those accounts. The judge allowed bail of 400,000 ringgit from the previous cases and ordered Wan Saiful to report to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission headquarters twice a month. The case will be mentioned on December 1st. Wan Saiful is already facing 2 charges linked to the Jana Wibawa initiative, a stimulus package introduced by the then Perikatan Nasional-led government to help Bumiputra contractors during the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, Segambut Bersatu Division Deputy Chief Adam Radlan Adam Muhammad faced another charge at the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court on Wednesday, this time with using 500,000 ringgit from the proceeds of unlawful activities 2 years ago. The 42-year-old accused, who is also a businessman, pleaded not guilty after the charge was read out before Judge Rosina Ayub. He allegedly committed the offence through his bank account between December 2nd, 2021 and February 22nd last year. The case is fixed for further mention on October 31st. Adam Radlan is already facing 5 other corruption charges relating to the Jana Wibawa program. However, during the proceeding on Wednesday, it was not specified whether the latest charge against him is connected to his previous charges. The government will finalize the establishment of a single national border agency soon. Home Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said that although this has not been decided, he has asked agencies under his ministry to be prepared to take on the task should it fall under its purview.
Saya sebut bahawa yang namanya single border agency, border, mana-mana negara di dunia ni pun, dia tentu weightage keselamatan tu lebih berat. Dan memang dalam banyak-banyak agensi di bawah KDN tu antara yang paling banyak. Jadi sebab itu dalam ucapan tadi saya menggesa warga KDN khususnya, walaupun hari ini Majlis Jabatan Pendaftaran, supaya bersiap sedia. Dan andai kata dalam masa terdekat ini sesuatu keputusan itu dibuat, Sudah tentu saya akan segera hebah pada rakan-rakan media.
He said this to reporters after the Jubilee celebration for the National Registration Department in Putrajaya. During the tabling of the 2024 budget on October 13th, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said a single border agency was due to be set up with 20 million ringgit in funding for maintenance, repair and procurement of assets at the country's entry points. He said the establishment of the agency is part of an initiative to enhance the level of national defense and security readiness. There are currently more than 20 agencies involved in regulating the country's borders, including the Immigration Department, the Royal Malaysian Customs Department, and the Malaysian Quarantine and Inspection Services Department. Meanwhile, at the event, Saifuddin also launched the Integrated Security Vetting System developed by the National Registration Department in collaboration with the Royal Malaysia Police. With the system in place, the processing time for a citizenship application is more efficient, with the processing period reduced from 73 days to 14 days. The Sultan of Johor, Sultan Ibrahim Almarhum Sultan Iskandar, chaired the 262nd meeting of the Conference of Rulers at Istana Negara on Wednesday. The meeting was last held on February 23rd, presided over by Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharifuddin Idris Shah. Before chairing the meeting, Sultan Ibrahim took the salute at the Grand Guard of Honour mounted by officers and men of the 1st Battalion of the Royal Malay Regiment at the main square of the palace. He then planted a mentega tree in the garden of Istana Negara as a symbol of His Majesty's presiding over the meeting. Accompanying him was Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah. Among those who attended the 262nd meeting, being held over 2 days, were Sultan of Perak, Sultan Nazrin Shah, Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharifuddin Idris Shah, Sultan of Terengganu, Sultan Mizan Zainal Abidin, Sultan of Kedah, Sultan Salihuddin Sultan Badli Shah, and Yang di-Pertuan Besar of Negeri Sembilan, Tuanku Muhriz Tuanku Munawir. Pahang was represented by Regent Tunku Hassanal Ibrahim Alam Shah Al-Sultan Abdullah, Perlis by Regent Tuanku Said Faizuddin Putra Jamalulail, and Kelantan by Tengku Mahkota Tengku Dr. Muhammad Faiz Petra. Also present were Pulau Pinang Yang di-Pertuan Negeri Tun Ahmad Fuzi Abdul Razak, Melaka Yang di-Pertuan Negeri Tun Muhammad Ali Rustam, Sabah Yang di-Pertuan Negeri Tun Johar Mahiruddin, and Sarawak State Assembly Speaker Tan Sri Muhammad Asfiau Awang Nasar. Apart from the 262nd meeting, the Malay rulers are also scheduled to attend the special 263rd meeting of the Conference of Rulers at Istana Negara on Friday to deliberate on matters concerning the election of the 17th Yang di-Pertuan Agong. Indonesia's Prabowo registers in three-way presidential race. News from the Foreign Front right after this break. Defense Minister Prabowo Subianto and his running mate registered on Wednesday to run in next year's presidential election, setting the stage for a three-way race that the former military commander is tipped to win. Prabowo, 72, and Gibran Rakabuming Raka, the eldest son of outgoing President Joko Widodo, were met by thousands of cheering supporters in Jakarta as they handed their credentials and manifesto to election officials. Prabowo pledged several reforms, including eradicating extreme poverty within the first 2 years of taking office and modernizing military hardware. The duo's registration sets the stage for a three-way race on February 14th, when the world's third-largest democracy will hold simultaneous presidential and parliamentary elections. Hong Kong leader John Lee said on Wednesday the semi-autonomous city would create its own national security law in 2024, 4 years after Beijing imposed sweeping legislation aimed at silencing dissent. Under the city's mini-constitution, the Basic Law, Hong Kong is required to make its own law combating 7 security-related crimes, including treason and espionage. The task, often referred to as a constitutional responsibility by the city's government, however, has yet to be fulfilled. The last legislative attempt in 2003 was shelved after 500,000 Hong Kongers took to the streets to protest the move. Moving on, Mexico's southern coast braced for Hurricane Otis on Wednesday as the Category 5 storm made landfall near the beach resorts of Acapulco with the potential to cause catastrophic damage. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said the hurricane reached land near Acapulco, bringing maximum sustained winds around 270 kilometers per hour and heavy rain. The storm could bring up to 51 centimeters of rain in parts of Guerrero and Oaxaca, with the possibility of flash floods and mudslides and life-threatening surf and rip current conditions. Schools across the state have also been canceled ahead of Otis's arrival. Hangzhou Para Games. Reigning Paralympic and world champion para powerlifter Boni Bunya Agustin lived up to expectations as he delivered gold for Malaysia on Wednesday. The Sarawak-born Boni smashed the game's record after lifting 230 kilograms to win the men's below 72 kilograms event. China's Hu Peng took the silver, while Biksot Jamilov of Uzbekistan got the bronze. Boni holds the current world record of 231 kilograms, which he achieved at the World Meet in Dubai in August this year. Turning to tennis, the 2023 Swiss indoors Basel. World number 6, Holger Rune, came back from a set down to topple Miomir Kecmanovic in their first-round clash. After losing the first set, 1-6, the Dane was down a break and trailing 3-4 in the second before breaking back to level at 4-all. He went on to break his Serbian opponent's serve again to take the set 7-5 before claiming the third set 6-3 in just over 2 hours. The 20-year-old will take on Argentina's Sebastian Baez in the second round. Infant dies after being left alone in car. The details when Nightline returns. A new EPF account will be introduced to allow members to dip into their savings at any time. Now, the move will help free up funds for those in need, but is it the right move? FMT's Natasha Bust finds out.
Do you have enough saved up for a rainy day? Emergency cash you can access anytime you want? If you do, count your blessings. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck 3 years ago, many Malaysians lost their incomes as the world came to a halt. They had no money, no savings, no idea when life would return to normal. Then, people were allowed to access their employees' Provident Fund or EPF account. But this led to valid concerns that people would deplete most of their savings. It was clear that moving forward, there was a need to strike a balance. People need to have enough saved up for retirement, but also have access to emergency funds. And it looks like this is finally happening.
Akaun fleksibel KWSP akan diperkenalkan sebagai akaun baru yang boleh diakses pada bila-bila masa.
Economist Jeffrey Williams welcomes the idea.
This is a new option which will allow people to save a small amount into a saving account where they'll get a much better return than they could possibly get in a bank.
He says the flexible account allows for people to build up their emergency savings faster.
The main difference is that because it's an EPF account, it should benefit from the higher EPF dividends. You see, even if you have a fixed deposit at a normal bank, you'll be lucky to get 3%, whereas for EPF, you're getting almost 6%, and that's the big difference.
Working Malaysians also love the idea.
I think it's a good idea, especially for those who have financial problem. Let's say they want to come out any deposit, whatever, it will be encourage them to helpful for them to withdraw in case of emergency cases lah.
Akaun ketiga fleksibel yang baru diumumkan ni ada bagus lah. Saya rasa pihak government pun boleh buat, pihak KWSP pun boleh buat macam ini akaun ketiga ni pilihan pada pekerja. Sama ada kita boleh pilih lah, you nak ke tak nak. Kalau rasa nak, apply.
For economist Goh Lim Tai, the flexible account is a good idea, but it must not come at the expense of a person's retirement savings.
They must ensure that at least 70% of the account one saving remain untouched, thereby balancing immediate access with long-term retirement security. A hypothetical split could be 70, 20, and 10, where 70% goes to account 1, 20% to account 2, and 10% to the new flexible emergency account.
The government is expected to announce more details on the flexible account in due time, but it's clear it will help provide a lifeline to those in need. Natasha Bust, FMT for Nightline.
In other news, a 16-month-old baby girl died after she was found unconscious in a car at a public university in Kuala Nurus, Terengganu. Initial police investigations revealed that the victim's father had forgotten to send her to the university's daycare center before going to work. Kuala Terengganu District Police Chief ACP Abdul Rahim Maddin said police were informed about the incident at 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday. The baby was pronounced dead at the university's health center and her body has been sent to the Sultanah Nur Zahira Hospital for post-mortem.
Berdasar telah dijalankan di hospital pada malam tadi dan sebab-sebab kematian masih belum diperolehi dan kerana ia akan pending pada analisa makmal.
Rahim said police were still investigating and would record statements from those involved under the Child Act. He urged the public not to speculate about the incident and let police complete their investigations. This is the second similar incident that happened in the country this month. A secondary school student lost his life on Wednesday morning after the motorcycle he was riding collided with a U-turning lorry on the Kluang Batu Pahat Road. The incident occurred at 6:30 a.m. while the victim was on his way to school. According to a viral video on social media, the lorry was seen suddenly making a U-turn, causing the victim to fail to evade it. The motorcycle then crashed into the side of the lorry, resulting in an explosion and fire. The victim, 17-year-old Shahrunizam Muhammad Shamsul, a student at SMK Sri Gading, suffered severe head injuries and died at the scene. Batu Pahat District Police Chief ACP Ismail Dola stated that the 33-year-old lorry driver and his 24-year-old passenger were unharmed. The lorry driver has been detained to assist in the investigation under Section 41 of the Road Transport Act. An initial urine test on the driver yielded negative results. Nightline draws to a close this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look at a gallery in London where art meets artificial intelligence with the opening of a new show by an artist whose collaborations with robotic painters can sell for tens of thousands of pounds. I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for watching and take care.